Hey guys, welcome back to One Stop Biology. So today we are going to start off with a new chapter of class 12th, which is chapter 9 of NCERT, Strategies for Enhancement in Food Production. So guys, in this chapter we are basically going to study how do we exactly compensate with the demand of food supplies. Now it can be through animal breeding or it can be through plant breeding, right? So we are going to cover both basically, and basically in here we are going to study how we manage the demand of food with the increasing population as well. How do we use various biological techniques to increase the food supply. So we'll start off with animal breeding, and in this video we are going to cover the entire animal breeding, right? So basically we'll start off with what exactly is animal husbandry or animal breeding. So guys, animal husbandry is nothing but the agricultural practice of breeding and raising livestock, which means what? You breed and raise various animals. Now these animals provide food sources. These are basically food sources, right? So they compensate for the food sources. Now guys, it deals with basically care and breeding of livestock like cows, buffaloes, pigs, horses, cattle, sheep, camels, goat, right? So these all livestock are basically useful to humans, and it also includes poultry farming and fisheries. Now again, fisheries include rearing, catching and selling of fishes, or not just fishes but all the various types of seafoods. So basically fishes, mollusks, crustaceans, prawns, crab and everything, right? So basically guys, remember that if we talk about an estimate, more than 70% of the world livestock population is in India and China. Remember that. And this is because of our increasing population as well, right? So how do we exactly manage farm and farm animals? So the first point is dairy farm management. So basically dairy is nothing but the milk that comes from these animals. So basically we get milk from so many animals like cow, buffalo and all that, right? So dairying is the nothing but the management of animals for milk and its products for human consumption, right? So it is what? It is management of animals for milk and its products, and it is used for human consumption, right? So basically in dairy farm management we do what? We deal with process and system that increase yield. So we deal with processes that increase yield and improve quality of milk. So guys, if I ask you what are the basically aim to do this dairy farm management, we aim at increasing yield of milk and its product and also improving quality of milk, right? Now again, in order to improve quality or increase yield, what we'll have to do? We'll have to basically improve on the quality of breeds in the farm, right? What we'll have to do? We'll have to improve on the quality of breeds in the farm, right? So we'll have to have better cows, better buffaloes, right? Now what happens is basically to yield high, to have high yield, to yield good kind of milk and its product, and to be resistant to diseases, it is very important that we select good breeds, right? So basically for the yield to be potential, right, and to realize that the cattle will have to be looked after properly and they have adequate water, they have a disease free life, they have good kind of food, they are living in proper sanitized conditions, and that is why we create big farms for them, right? Now feeding of cattle should be carried out in a scientific manner with special emphasis on quality and quantity of fodder, right? Again, so basically one point is to make the conditions better, to give a better fooding quality, to give a better sanitation, to give better disease free comfortable area. Now apart from that, when you get milk, this storage and transport of this milk and its product is also very important to reduce chances of direct contact of this milk and its product with the handler, in order to reduce insanitation, right? So basically one has to see that after the milk is yielded from the cattle, one has to give a proper sanitized environment when it comes to storage and transport of it. Then regular visit by a veterinary doctor should be mandatory. So all of this comes in dairy farm management. In the same way, we have poultry farm management. So basically it is domestication of birds, fowls, which are used for food or their eggs. So this basically includes chicken, ducks, and sometimes turkey, geese. So all these birds are basically farmed for their meat or their eggs. Now this basically is very similar to dairy farming, where we have selection of disease free and suitable breeds, we have proper safe farm conditions, we feed them properly with food and water, we maintain the hygiene and health care, right? And when we yield products from them, we basically carry them out with sanitization. So the transport of it, the storage of it is properly sanitized. Now let's start off with animal breeding. So basically guys, what happens is, there are a lot of animals on which we as humans are dependent directly for our food, right? So we basically use eggs, we use milk, and different products that are made from milk, we use them for meat, right? So animal breeding does what? It aims at increasing the yield and improving the quality of produce. Again, the aim is increasing the yield and improving the quality of produce. What does it mean in case of animal breeding? So it basically means the animal which is being breeded is devoid of any kind of diseases, right? It is breeded in a proper sanitized condition, it is good for eating, right? So basically what happens is that when breeding is in between animals of the same breed, it is known as inbreeding. So inbreeding is basically breeding in between animals of the same breed. It is breeding in between animals of the same breed. And what is outbreeding? So this is inbreeding. Outbreeding is when the breeding is between different breeds. So basically there the crosses is in between different breeds, right? Now let's see what is inbreeding. So basically it refers to mating of more closely related individuals within the same breed for 4 to 6 generations. Now what happens in breeding strategy? So basically the superior males and superior females of the same breed are identified and they are mated in pairs. Now since these are superior males and superior females, the progeny which is obtained from the matings are evaluated, and superior males and females among them are again identified for future mating. And what they do is they keep them mating for 4 to 6 generations, right? A superior female in the case of cattle is the cow or buffalo that produce more milk per lactation. So now this superior female which is produced after 4 to 6 generations, this superior female is capable of producing more milk. On the other hand, the superior male, right, like the bull, it gives rise to superior progeny as compared to those of other males. So again, this superior male will be used for more and more generations of superior progenies, right? So this is basically the mating part. Now guys, remember that since inbreeding, we are talking about inbreeding, right? So since inbreeding is in between closely related species, it increases homozygosity, right? And thus it is basically when we want to evolve a pure line or in any animal. So basically we are getting pure breeds here, right? Now but there is one disadvantage of inbreeding. Since it is in between very closely related species, it basically exposes harmful recessive genes that are again eliminated by selection, right? So this basically is one thing. Now but it helps in accumulation of superior genes and it eliminates the less desirable genes. So what is happening basically is when we are breeding more and more superior species of male and female, one generation after another, basically in every generation of breeding we are eliminating less desirable genes and we are adding up more and more superior genes, right? So therefore when there is a selection at each step, the increases the productivity of inbred population, right? And continued inbreeding, what happens is it reduces fertility and productivity. Remember this, that continued inbreeding, especially if it is very closely in between very closely related species, it reduces fertility and productivity, and this is known as inbreeding depression. This is known as inbreeding depression, right? So when this becomes a problem, what we do, selected animals of the breeding population should be mated with unrelated superior animals. So what we start doing is we start mating these individuals with unrelated superior animals of the same breed, and this restores the fertility and yield. Now in the same way, what is outbreeding? So it is basically breeding of unrelated animals. Now here it might be between animals of the same breed which have no common ancestors for 4 to 6 generations. So that is known as outbreeding. And if it is between two different breeds, it is known as crossbreeding. Third is if it is between different species, it is interspecific hybridization. So remember now, outbreeding can be of 3 types, right? The first one is in between same breed with no common ancestors. Remember, no common ancestors for 4 to 6 generations. This is known as outcrossing. This is known as outcrossing, right? Second one is, now the second one is in between different breeds of the same species basically. So species are same but two different breeds. This is known as crossbreeding. This is known as crossbreeding. Third one is in between different species. So now we are breeding two different species, right? This is known as interspecific, right? So this is basically for species. Interspecific hybridization. This is known as interspecific hybridization, right? So we'll see this one by one. What happens in outcrossing? So this is basically a practice of making of animals within the same breed, but they have no common ancestors on either side for up to 4 to 6 generations, right? So the offspring of such a mating is known as an outcross, right? Now, remember guys, this is considered as the best breeding method for animals that are below average in productivity, right? So if for animals which are below average in productivity in say milk production, growth rate in beef and cattle, this is the best method. Which method? Outcrossing, right? A single outcross helps to overcome inbreeding depression. So when we studied that, if it is between closely related species, we said that after few, generations, it causes infertility and less yield production, right? So this outcross, which is now, a combined effort of again closely related species, this outcross helps to overcome inbreeding depression. Right. Now, what is crossbreeding? So, in this method, superior males of one breed are basically mated with superior females of another breed. So, now this is between different breeds of the same species, right? So, crossbreeding basically allows desirable qualities of different breeds to be combined, and the progeny hybrid animal can be used for commercial production, right? So, again, it is basically it gives very good production of the yield, right? So this may be subjected to form of inbreeding and selection to develop new stable breeds that may be superior to the existing breeds, right? So basically there is hybrid which is known as Hisardale. Now Hisardale is a new breed of sheep which is developed by crossing. It is developed in Punjab, and what they did is they crossed Bikaneri ewes with Merino rams, right? So Hisardale is an example of crossbreeding. In the same way, guys, we have interspecific hybridization. So what happens in interspecific hybridization? Now male and female animals of two different related species are mated, right? So in this what happens, in some cases the progeny may combine desirable features of both the parents, or sometimes it may be of considerable economic value depending upon what all features are required, right? An example of interspecific hybrid is of a mule. Now do you guys know what a mule is? So basically guys, mule is a hybrid of what? A male donkey and a female horse, right? So they are two different species, right? And they both are crossed, right? And we basically get a hybrid which is known as a mule, right? So this is example of interspecific hybridization. Now let's see what is controlled breeding experiments basically. So guys, controlled breeding experiments are carried out using artificial insemination, right? So guys, basically these controlled breeding experiments are carried out using artificial insemination, right? So in that what happens is that the semen is collected from the male and it is chosen as a parent, right? And this semen is injected into the reproductive tract of the selected female by the breeder, right? Now semen may be used immediately or it can be frozen and used in a later state as well, right? So basically it is either immediately transferred in the reproductive tract, or it can be also transported in a frozen form where the female is housed, and in this way the desirable mating is carried. Now basically guys, in the way in case of humans also, we have read so many times that artificial insemination and in vitro fertilization is a technique for people who cannot have kids. In the same way, artificial insemination helps with overcome several problems of normal mating. So basically here what happens is that since it is artificially given into the reproductive tract, what happens is that success rate of crossing mature male and female animals is low, right? So in order to improve chances of successful production of hybrids, there are other means as well which is used. So there are multiple ovulation embryo transfer technology. In this what happens is that a cow is administered hormones with more follicle stimulating hormones, which is FSH. And what happens is that once the FSH starts working, it induces follicular maturation and superovulation. So basically production of more eggs instead of one, production of 6 to 8 eggs instead of one. And then the animal is mated with an superior bull, an elite bull, right? And or even artificially the semen is inseminated, and thus the fertilized egg has say more and more cell stages. So these are recovered non-surgically and these are transferred to surrogate mothers, right? And then one can have more superior progeny. So the genetic mother is available for another round of superovulation. This is known as superovulation, right? So this technology has been demonstrated for cattle, sheep, mares, buffaloes, rabbits and all that, right? So this is all about the mating of cattle. Now let's go to beekeeping. Again, beekeeping is a very big business, guys, right? So basically honey is a very good supplement naturally, and in major countries nowadays people rely on honey than relying on sugar. So guys, what exactly is beekeeping? Now beekeeping or apiculture, as what it is known as, is the maintenance of hives of what? Hives of honeybees. And because of maintenance of these hives, the production of honey is increased, right? So we basically start kind of cultivating bees, right? So basically guys, as I said that honey is considered as a food of high nutritive value, and it is supplement of a lot of things which is considered harmful, right? Like sugar is considered not of that use as a nutritive product nowadays, and that is why we say honey is a very good alternate to that. So honeybee basically produces honey. It also produces bee wax. Bee wax is used in many cosmetics and polishes, guys. So beekeeping is a practice which will not just produce honey, which is a food supplement, but also different things like bee wax as well. So beekeeping can be basically practiced in any area where there are sufficient bee pastures, right? Like there should be wild shrubs, there should be fruit orchards, because from where do they derive this honey from? They go to different flowers and fruits to get it, right? So having floral shrubs, wild shrubs, having fruit orchards, or having cultivated crops. So if you live nearby to that area, you can easily practice beekeeping. Now the most common species which are reared is Apis indica. It is Apis indica, right? Now beehives can be kept in one's courtyard or on the veranda of the house, or even on the roof as well. So since, see guys, it is not labor intensive. You do not need, more and more people to rear bees, like you need, for rearing of cattle, for rearing of cow or buffalo or horses or things like that, right? You just need a small area where you can keep the entire structure where you are going to rear these bees, and with very less labor you can just follow the technique used. Right now, what are the points which are important for successful beekeeping? Let's see that. So basically, the first point should be that you should understand the nature and habit of bees. So understanding the nature and habit of bees. Understanding the nature and habit of bees. Then selecting suitable location. Selecting suitable location of beehives, where you have to keep the beehives, right? Then catching swarms, which is group of bees, right? Then management of beehives. So basically we have different seasons, right? So you'll have to manage beehives in all the seasons during different seasons, right? And then fifth is handling and collection of honey and bee wax. So you should have a place to collect the product. So you should have a proper storage and to transport to move the collected product from one place to another. So handling and collection of honey and any such side product of beekeeping. Right now, guys, remember that bees are also pollinators, very important pollinators of many crops such as sunflower, brassica, apple, pear, right? So they also very importantly increases the yield of crops as well where they are present, right? So keeping beehives in crop field during flowering period, what it does, it increases pollination efficiency and they improve the yield of the crop as well. So basically, two positive sides of doing beekeeping. So this is all about beekeeping. The last topic that we have to go through is fisheries, guys. So now we have studied the entire animal breeding, we have seen beekeeping, and now we'll see fisheries as well. So what, as I mentioned before as well, fisheries includes what? Fisheries include a practice to catch, process and sell different seafood, basically, right? So basically sea aquatic animals, like say not just fish but shellfish, crabs, so many different prawns are there, so many different organisms are there, aquatic organisms are there. So basically this is catching, processing and selling of these organisms, right? So we have some common freshwater fishes, we have some common marine fishes, like we have katla, rohu, you have hilsa, right? We have pomfrets. So what people do is there is a natural aquatic system like ponds, seas and ocean where people go for fishing and they collect the fish, they catch the fish, they process it and then they sell it. Also there is a chance to create your own artificial ponds and breed fishes there, right? What fisheries does is it provides income and employment to millions of fishermen and farmers. Also there is aquaculture and pisciculture. It is nothing but breeding fishes in a artificial pond, man-made pond, right? It increases the production of aquatic plants and animals of both freshwater and marine. So there, basically there, guys, you have a choice of which type of fish you want to breed, basically, right? So guys, this is all about fisheries as well, and with this we have covered animal breeding. In the next video we are going to cover plant breeding. So I hope guys this chapter will be over in 2 to 3 videos at max, and then we'll quickly move forward. So I hope you understood the basics of animal breeding and what exactly it is about. So please guys, please do like the video, share it with your friends, and if you are new to the channel, please do not forget to subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon to get the updates. Okay guys, see you in the next video. Take care. Bye bye.